We think of animated shows as harmless kids fare, but that isn't always the case. Each of these cartoon episodes were so raunchy, so stupid, or so downright confusing that they were denied an audience entirely. From its 1994 debut, Gargoyles gained a devoted fanbase for its complex plots, fluid animation, and serious storytelling. As an action-adventure series chronicling the lives of gargoyles who come to life at night to protect the places and people they love, the series explored themes including frustrated love, urban crime, and corporate greed. This willingness to go to intense places made Gargoyles an enduring hit that lives on in cosplay and tie-in comics to this day. But in the minds of network executives, it also crossed the line. The Season 1 episode, Deadly Force, is a compassionate, albeit stern story about gun safety, in which fun-loving gargoyle Broadway accidentally shoots human detective Eliza with her own gun. She is badly wounded and barely survives emergency surgery, and Broadway goes on a frantic, guilt-ridden crusade against guns. Ultimately, a very important lesson is learned about the safe handling of firearms, but not before several seconds of Eliza with a bullet in her belly filled the screen. Deadly Force was pulled from rotation for a while, and subsequent airings on spin-off channels Toon Disney and Disney XD recut the scene so that only Eliza's anguished face is visible. Regardless, the Gargoyles team remains proud of the message they sent about gun violence in this episode, and stand by it as a thoughtful examination of firearms and their mishandling. Dexter's Lab was one of the biggest successes of 1990s animation, an irreverent send-up of everything from mid-century space-age ambition to Marvel action heroes. At the heart of it was Dexter, megalomaniacal child genius with a secret lab behind his bedroom bookcase, and Dee Dee, his goofy, tutu-clad sister. Their clashes defined many episodes of the show and typically went to bizarre extremes, as when Dexter sought to grow a beard to display his manliness after Dee Dee's teasing, or when Dee Dee inspired a crush in Dexter's arch-nemesis, Mandark. That sibling rivalry reached new heights in Dexter's rude removal. In this infamous episode, Dexter develops a rude removal system to remove Dee Dee's more irritating qualities. This backfires, and Dexter ends up creating two versions of himself and his sister, a polite, vaguely British pair, and a pair whose every other word is censored by profanity bleeps.
Where the are we? Beats the out of me!
Despite its completion, Dexter's rude removal never aired. Series creator Genndy Tartakovsky mentioned it from time to time, growing its legend until finally it surfaced on late-night programming blog Adult Swim's website. Despite the fact that no curse word is ever actually uttered and censored, the mere fact of their existence was too much for delicate ears. Tiny Toon Adventures was known for its wry attitude toward cartoon conventions. Babs, Buster, and the rest of the Acme University gang regularly poked fun at the expectations and tropes of the media, from subverting slapstick gags involving mallets and banana peels to the contrasting iconic jokesters like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck with genteel mortarboards and academic robes as the university's professors. From the cartoon setting in a town called Acme Acres to characters' names like Merry Melody riffing off Warner Brothers' legendary Merry Melodies cartoons, the whole cartoon rests on a foundation of metatextual ribbing. But that went a little off the rails with the infamously banned One Beer. Plucky Duck, Hampton J. Pig, and Buster Bunny go on a whirlwind bender when they drink beer for the first time, quickly plummeting from wide-eyed kids to stubble-chinned lowlifes.
You babes wanna hang? Or what?
Despite the fact that Buster opens the escapade by outright saying, "In this episode, we're showing the evils of alcohol," and ending it by asking if they can do a funny episode tomorrow now that they've lectured the kids, One Beer was banned until 2013, when it was finally included in a DVD release. Let that be a lesson to animators across the globe. Don't try to teach valuable lessons. Cow and Chicken never pretended to be anything but crass. Its titular siblings, excitable second-grader Cow and hot-tempered fifth-grader Chicken, regularly got into trouble that made it clear that they were there to make kids laugh, not provide moral guardianship.
Chicken, that's a good way to lose a beak! Ah, shut up, Cow! Mind your own business!
Take, for example, their enemy Red Guy, who might have actually been the devil but was most notable for not wearing pants. Among his many aliases were Officer Panskovsky, Mrs. Beardaria, Major Wedgie, and No Pants DeLeon. No joke was too crude for this cartoon to indulge. There was, however, a limit the censors did not want crossed, and Cow and Chicken found it with Buffalo Gals. 7 solid minutes of lesbian jokes. Unsurprisingly, it faced resistance from network executives, although it lives on through the magic of the internet. Dudley Do-Right's Stokey the Bear was intended in the spirit of fun. Canada is roundly, if kindly parodied in the episode as the home of trees, lumberjacks, the firewood industry, and, well, not much else. Snidely Whiplash is doing his diabolical deeds to better barbecue his hot dogs. Stokey was meant to be very much a parody of Smokey of Only You Can Prevent Forest Fires fame, but hypnotized by Snidely into setting fires. All in good fun, right? Wrong. The US Forest Service wasn't too pleased with the spoof of their beloved mascot, in no small part because Smokey was created with a very particular purpose in mind, one the episode was deliberately muddling. Understandable, perhaps, especially given that the episode's final gag implies Stokey was responsible for the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. The episode was yanked, Stokey was snuffed, and it never saw airtime again. Batman the Brave and the Bold was a self-conscious tribute and recreation of Silver Age DC Comics. Bright, funny, and abashedly nonsensical. From the retro aesthetic to capers with titles like Invasion of the Secret Santas, Brave and the Bold was all about having a good and goofy time. Mostly, this resulted in kid-friendly hijinks of the laser guns and magical truth serums variety. But in the Mask of Matches Malone, Brave and the Bold got downright naughty. When they're caught sneaking into a nightclub, Huntress, Catwoman, and Black Canary think fast and perform Birds of Prey, a throwback toe tapper about the men of the DC universe that stuffs an innuendo into every other line. This ranges from Catwoman purring, "What a weapon, what a bang" about Batman, the implication that Green Arrow doesn't always shoot straight, and a complaint about the Flash being just too fast. But what got the episode booted off the Season 2 DVD collection was the suggestive finger waggle Huntress deploys when discussing Aquaman.
His little fish, less outrageous.
With a bit of reanimation to remove the telltale finger, it was included as a bonus episode on the Season 3 DVD, and thus everyone now knows all about the male members of the Justice League and their prowess, on and off the battlefield. Cast your mind back to 1987 and recall the Garbage Pail Kids trading card. Their success rested entirely upon the fact that they were utterly disgusting little artifacts of childhood grotesquerie, a perfect parody of the apple cheeked goodness of the Cabbage Patch Kids. With such characters as Atom Bomb, Uzi Susie, and Snotwitch Sandra, they were pulling no punches when it came to grossing kids out and cracking them up. But the 1987 Garbage Pail Kids cartoon went too far for the US viewing audience. Starring Split Kids, Plug Dwayne, Elliot Mess, Terry Cloth, and Patty Putty, the eponymous kids used their disgusting powers to save the day. Groups including Action for Children's Television and Christian Leaders for Responsible Television protested, however, and the show was yanked from the airwaves mere days before release. Though it did go on to air in other countries, it never saw the light of US viewership. The Garbage Pail Kids were, to be frank, dumped. The English-language dub of anime mega-hit Sailor Moon cut and censored so many things from the original Japanese version, it merits a video of its own. Many of these changes have become infamous. Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune, originally lovers, were changed to cousins, and multiple instances of implied nudity were scrapped. Before many of these now infamous choices were made, however, was Day of Destiny, the finale to Season 1. Originally a two-parter, Day of Destiny sees Sailor Moon and company storm the evil Queen Beryl's Arctic fortress. Her henchmen attack, and the battle quickly goes south. Sailors Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus all die on the ice, and Sailor Moon is forced to fight the supercharged Beryl on her own. Given that the original Japanese title of the first episode is Death of the Sailor Guardians, the tragic final battle, it is perhaps unsurprising that it was cut, and the finale reduced to one cobbled-together episode for the US market. While it wasn't outright banned, the original version was just too much for kids. 1990s playgrounds the world over found themselves beset by a new fad. It was called Pokémon, and it still has yet to release its grip on young minds. Kids just can't get enough of Pikachu, Squirtle, and the gang. But a rumor haunted the franchise early on, mutating as it passed from kid to kid. There was an episode, they whispered, that was banned. The internet was in its infancy, and no one had ever seen the fabled episode, and so the tales grew unchecked. Even today you might hear a child whisper about a killer episode of Pokémon that no one has ever seen. Unlike other kid-spread legends, this one really did turn out to be true. Electric Soldier Porygon is the episode in question, and it was indeed banned from the airwaves for reasons of public health. Hundreds of Japanese children were rushed to the hospital after it aired in 1997, suffering from seizures, convulsions, and vomiting. It turned out that a brief moment of bright, strobing animation induced this illness and set off a generation's favorite bit of gossip. 20 years later, it still fascinates us, though luckily those prone to seizures know to keep well away. The Powerpuff Girls was never a show content to be normal. The very premise itself, man combines sugar, spice, everything nice, and the mysterious black ooze creates triplets, is bizarre. And episodes hinged on everything from elaborate Beatles parodies to the sinister effects of glue consumption. But in Season 5's See Me, Feel Me, Know Me, this was taken to new heights. In an homage to rock operas like Tommy, the episode is a sung-through musical in which the girls meet a magical gnome who promises to vanquish all evil in exchange for their powers. And he makes Townsville into a cult. Eventually, the day is saved, Townsville is restored, and the gnome is defeated. So why did Cartoon Network keep the episode off US airwaves? Questions swelled for years until show creator Craig McCracken finally provided some answers via his Tumblr. They banned it because they claim that the metal beams in the destroyed buildings looked too much like crosses, and one of the hippies looked like Jesus. The staff was surprised and the fans were deprived, but it all worked out in the end. The episode is now available to anyone who wants to watch it on Hulu, iTunes, or on the original series DVDs. Anime exploded into popularity in the late 1990s, and Toonami, a Cartoon Network programming block aimed at the action-hungry after-school crowd, was a huge part of why. From Sailor Moon to Dragon Ball Z, Toonami aired the coolest, edgiest, often weirdest cartoons Western kids had ever seen, and it kept them glued to their TVs. New episodes appeared daily. Movie-length specials were hyped for weeks prior to airing, and occasionally, Toonami even pushed the boundaries of what was considered acceptable. Action was tougher, faster, and more intense on Toonami, and jokes were a bit more edgy. Outlaw Star, a spacefaring action series, often pushed that line, but one whole episode was deemed unacceptable, impossible to edit into suitability, and unceremoniously dumped. It's no surprise as to why. Hot Springs Planet Tenrei sees hero Gene Starwind descend to a world of beautiful saunas filled with even more beautiful and always unclothed ladies. In the end, kiddie viewers just had to deal with the lack of continuity, until many years later, it aired on the late-night reimagined Toonami, intended for just those kids who'd love it the first time around. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite cartoons are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.